Alright, started this video in a different spot because that way I'll try to keep it shorter. Anyway, so I don't have as much time. Consumption, I think we'll start with the consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. These are all terms that really I have talked about, so I don't know if I can say anything new, but let's see what happens. Yeah, so following up from the last video pretty much, we consume to grow. So we can, so the original cellular life, the original replicating thing had to grow big enough basically to break in half and have two surviving things that could grow and break in half and so on. So that's the origins of our consumption. The idea, in essence, I guess, is that you absorb something and then you produce something. And reproduction, is kind of the production. Just making the copy so the original can die. And that's how sort of the game has changed. The first life forms didn't die. They did, but they didn't die because they were built to die. We have built-in obsolescence now. Kind of funny that many people see that in the consumer world as an evil, and yet nature did it a long time ago. They gamed us, that way. They built in the obsolescence. They gave us no hope of surviving our existence. Yeah. I guess you could still hope it. You could still just delude yourself. And maybe for millions of years, human beings had a notion in their head, if I don't get squashed by a tree or eaten by a bear, I could theoretically live forever. Maybe they could think that way because they were ignorant. That's the only way they could think that way. Consumption is just this idea that, you got to take in the parts to make something, and all we've been making is copies, and it's gotten more sophisticated because we take in to build tools. We are very complex, so the consumption is more complex, and then we're in a social order, in an environmental order that requires our tools to be very money, wealth, power, love. We have to consume soldiers to defend us. We have to consume workers to feed us and keep us warm and comfortable and whatever, comb our hair or whatever you're paying people to do. So that becomes the new kind of consumption, the new demands of the new organism, the new thing that consumes. But at its core, that's really all that's happening. And you can just qualify with these other words, like cannibalism and addiction, the quality of the consumption, why it happens. And so you got the how and you got the why. You got we have the why in terms of origin, and you have the why in terms of the practical mechanism. I guess those could be considered two different questions. The origin's been explained, and now all we're left with is the why of the mechanics of what it is for human beings to do their consuming, and whether they can possibly do that, in some kind of productive way. So we're back to the word productive. Can they take and still give? Can they give more than they take? Can they convert the taking from the world, the absorption of the energy, and convert it into some sort of explosion, reintroduction of the energy in some sort of way that enhances things, creates better So I guess I'm sort of arguing for the contrary there. Guy's gonna make noise with that chainsaw. Anyway, that's a good job though. Cutting trees that are already down. I like that job. Oh, he's just cutting little shit. I don't know what he's up to. Anyway, sorry. Unnecessary distraction. Maybe I'll come back to this. Yeah, but that's just too loud. I'll see you later. Alright, I'm back. So anyway, to be productive, we essentially, practically, have to produce something that essentially needs to be consumed by something else. Something else needs to consume it. And that's where we get sort of into an infinite regress, where all the need is just sort of manufactured out of serving some other need. But there is no need that generates the need. The need is just feeding on itself. I consume, I produce, somebody consumes what I produce, they produce, somebody consumes what they produce. So it's just this reconsumption. Yeah, maybe that's a good word. This reconsumption, of our own products. So maybe it's reconsumption and reproduction. Maybe it's all just reconsuming energy. Maybe it's the production of energy, and it just imposes consumption of energy on the thing getting pushed and moved by the production. So the sun produces the energy, it flies down to Earth, the stuff on Earth gets pushed by it, it absorbs it, manipulates it, and then outputs it. That's what our brain is doing all the time. Garbage in, shit out, behavior. And our body certainly is doing that. All this active metabolism and chemistry, all of this stirring taking place because of the thermal impact of the sun pushing, throwing a bunch of energetic photons at us. And that's all byproduct. So the consumption ultimately is a byproduct of the production. And then you could say, if you analyze the sun, the production is a byproduct of its consumption. It consumed through matter, mass, gravity consumption. It consumed a tremendous amount of matter, hydrogen, helium, hydrogen, and got so much of it that it was capable of igniting and throwing it back out into the universe. And so that's the mechanism. That's the heartbeat of all the heartbeats. It's just this mechanism of consolidation and then expansion. Consolidation, expansion. So it just ends up being the engine of the consumption and the production, and which leads to the idea of replicating or maintaining the existence of the replicators, of the producers. So I guess that'll be the next word. Yeah. So anyway, not completely valueless, but this will be the most redundant segment probably. So anyway, till the next time and such. So forth and whatnot. I don't want to. I just don't want to anymore. I just don't. Anyway, till next time. Lovely scenics. Such. A little foggy though. Till next time.